Hello, all you beautiful people in Webtown. Welcome back to Crypto Comics and our journey through the Ultraverse. The Ultraverse is an imprint from Malibu Comics, a popular publisher of the 1990s. And I was super excited to read Firefox and share it with everyone, but then I actually opened it up, I dived into it, and I quickly realized that there were X-Men showing up. And that threw me off. And I quickly realized I have to read the Phoenix Resurrection Revelations #1 if I'm going to possibly understand what the heck is going on in this comic. I read the whole thing. It's gorgeous, but there's so much backstory that we don't know. Like, there's a Terminator in this comic book. Why is the Terminator in this comic book? So I have to go and find the Phoenix Resurrection Revelations #1 so that I can talk about it. So instead, we're going to just talk about Mantra again, because I do have a few more issues of Mantra that I read today. And this story is still good. It kind of has the same issue that Solitaire had for me. Issue #2 was good. It continued the story of Luke Hayes. It still has some really solid art by Terry Dodson. Good story by Mike W. Barr. And I was enjoying this story about Luke Hayes, a warrior that is 1,500 years old, suddenly being trapped inside the body of a woman in modern times. And it's a very interesting read. Very interesting indeed. This issue was actually pretty good. This is Kismat Deadly. She's like this hippie that is somehow transported into modern times to send a message to Mantra, and then they get in a fight. And I'm fine with all that, but they didn't really explain how she got there, where she was going to in between the fight. She just would disappear. And so not much backstory for this villain. These characters are kind of interesting. This is called the Repo Men. They all look the same, and they all share a brain. They're kind of like Comicsgate's war campaign. Come back here. And they're trying to get Mantra. They want to steal her mask because there's great power in her mask. But yeah, again, good art. Terry Dodson's art, really good. And then issue 4 came up, where Boneyard, who's the main villain in Mantra, basically abducts her and is going to marry her for reasons that we don't really understand. It was kind of corny. This is drawn by Rob Phipps, and he did all right, you know? I didn't have any complaints about the art in this one. Looks good. A little more of a slightly more cartoonish style to it. Not quite as defined as Terry Dodson's art. And this is where the story kind of started going wonky for me, because she makes it to the bad guy's lair, and she has the chance to rescue Archimage, who is basically the guy in charge who put the male Luke Hayes warrior inside of Eden's body, so that he could learn magic, and she became Mantra. And this is all a fascinating story, but there's no resolution in this. And she flees. There's a ton of stuff happening in this realm that Boneyard is in. It's hard to describe what even happens here, because the plot isn't really constructed properly. It's like all of a sudden she's in fantasy world, I guess. There's Boneyard's castle. There's all these different types of characters, and you can see that it's like Princess Bride world or whatever, Conan world, whatever you want to call it. But you don't really get to understand who they are. And then these two show up, and they want Mantra. They get Mantra, their brother and sister, and they take her back to their place where she'll be safe. But then they drug her, and she passes out. She loves drinking ale, because Luke Hayes, he's like Conan the Barbarian. He just loves, a nice stein of beer, and forget the wine. But they poison her, and they drug her. I don't want to say they poison her. She doesn't die. They just wanted to go to sleep, and then maybe even kill her, just so Boneyard cannot marry her. But you don't ever really know why. These characters and their motivation is not really explained at all. And so I kind of fell off after this issue. Things just, I don't know, kind of went sideways here. It's not that it wasn't good, it's just that it wasn't enough. For all this action, all this fighting, I could have used a couple pages that just explained who the hell these people were, why Boneyard really wanted to marry her. Like, is it to suck her powers? And what are her powers? We're still kind of learning about her powers. We do discover that her power is to control the 4 elements. So she can project fire, or air, or water. I haven't really seen her earth power yet. I'm not sure what that is. She can fly. And she leaves this place without saving her man, without anything, without like accomplishing anything other than not getting married to the bad guy. She leaves this place, and honestly, the worst part about Mantra number 4, no matter how bad like this story was, or how nonsensical, I should say, this story was on the inside. Oh my God, not again. More Rune. I'm forced to deal with Barry Windsor Smith trash again. So last time it was issue A, and now it's issue J. But I finally deciphered what the heck that's all about. So each of the 11 October Ultraverse titles included an installment of Barry Windsor Smith and Chris Ulm's Rune. Every title had 2 covers, one for the individual title and a flip cover featuring Rune. 9 of the 11 covers can be joined together to create a startling poster of the Ultraverse's most enigmatic character. The image to the right only shows the overall shape of the figure when completed, so you're going to get to put all the comics together and make this poster, and that's great if it wasn't for this stupid character Rune. And World Heroes, I don't even know this. How do I not know this video game? If you played World Heroes, let me know about it in the comments below, please. If you liked Rune, explain to me what the hell you were thinking. Because I don't get it. Barry Windsor Smith, I hate his art. I hate his art. And this one, it just is killing me. The Fury Part 1. We've already read these in previously. A voracious killer whose prey is all humanity. An alien leech who despoils the flesh of his victims, culling their lifeblood into the essence of power. Rune, an ancient sorcerer whose necromantic gems foretell the future and decipher the past. Rune, a dying creature fighting for survival against the malignant disease burning inside of him. Last chapter. On the outskirts of Scottsdale, Arizona, 2 agents for the mysterious group known as Aladdin discover a car that has been torn apart, its 2 dead occupants still warm. The dead men are both undercover agents of Aladdin. Philip Stone, a special operative with psionic abilities, discovers that the creature they have tracked from the Arizona desert is responsible for the carnage. Stone's mental powers also reveal an even more frightening fact. The creature has discovered one of Aladdin's most valued secrets by mystically interrogating the corpses. Before Stone can rejoin his partner in their armored vehicle, he is attacked and killed by Rune. So what? And then you basically get a story that is 3 pages long. Next, The Fury Part 2. Oh, there's that classic Barry Windsor Smith art, you know. He draws every single man exactly the same. They all look like they belong in Archer and Armstrong, which I'm pretty sure he drew that too, because that book sucked. God, why? What did I do to deserve this? Do I wear 3D glasses with this? Is this like supposed to be part of the Valiant Vision gimmick or what? So stupid. Stupid Barry Windsor Smith and his stupid Rune. But anyway, so like Mantra kind of starts to run out of steam a little bit in ways in this issue for me. 1, 2, and 3 were really good. And then there's issue 5, and this is actually the issue that made me want to buy Mantra. I've had this image in my head since this came out originally in November of 1993. I've always remembered this comic because it was like, well, this looks different. Like, is she a Hollywood starlet and she's about to enter into a film? And I have an interest in film. I have an interest in comic books. I have an interest in beautiful women. I have an interest in magic. And I thought this just looked really different than comic books of today. And I read it, and I don't know what to think. It was all right. It was a fun read. Terry Dodson's art completely changes in this comic book. And I don't know if that's because Al Vey's no longer doing the inks. Now they have Jason Rodriguez doing the inks, even though it says Vey right there. It looks remarkably different. I will show you. Let's find a good shot of Mantra in here. She actually is looking pumped. Here we go. Like, you look at this face right here. Like, I mean, she's put on way too much makeup there. Maybe we shouldn't look at that face. This just seems more like it exists in a real world, which I like. Seems real to me. And you get here, and I don't know, it's just become cartoonish. It's almost like Dodson had to worry about paying the rent, and so he had to start drawing 2 comics a month instead of 1, so he wasn't able to put in all of the fine detail that he had in the earlier issues of Mantra. Detail just becomes less. Things become a little more cartoonish. And maybe this was a stylistic choice because, yes, she does go to the movies with her kids to see a Wily Wolf cartoon. And this demon creature, this fella right here, enters the screen and enters the character and basically brings Wily Wolf to life. And so maybe that's why Terry Dodson chose to maybe draw the real world a little more cartoonish, so that transition would be easier. But like this just looks like crap, man. Like, this is not doing it for me. And there's still an interesting story going on here with Eden and Lucchese having to share this body. Even though Eden's totally checked out, I think it would have been more interesting if Eden would have had a voice in the matter, as opposed to Lucchese just inhabiting her body, and kind of like an episode of Quantum Leap with Scott Bakula, where Scott leaps into the body and then that person's soul and consciousness just kind of like go hang out with Gushy, I guess, for a while, if I recall correctly. And there's still this interpersonal drama, but then, you know, how's he going to fight her? He's going to pull out a giant weight and drop this weight on her head, just like a cartoon would. And then she throws the sword and it comedically goes in his mouth and sticks out the back of his head like a cartoon would. And then he rolls himself up and he disappears. And there we have this, you know, this cheaper art, quick art. We had to just get this drawn, you know. Goofy looking face. And she eventually gets sucked into the television where she becomes a cartoon. Wily Wolf in I Mantra, get out of here. Be very, very quiet. I'm hunting Mantua. And that pretty much tells you everything you need to know. It turns into a cartoon. It stays a cartoon until she finally is able to escape. And this didn't do Mantra any favors. You know, what I had envisioned in my mind about this character, just from this cover here, man, it was better than what they're delivering now. I am going to buy issues 6 and 7 just to see if they get back on track. This is something that happened with Solitaire too. That Mantra issue 4 was so rushed. This should have really been, you know, its own story arc. It should have been at least 2 issues. You know, like the big villain has captured the heroine of the story and is going to marry her. Like, you'd think you could spend more than 1 issue on that. Rather than get out of it as quick as you could without a proper resolution and without properly introducing all of the new characters in it. To jump to this, like, I don't know, the transition just weak. We went from, you know, a book that I was able to follow that felt like it was a serious plot, you know, more adult-oriented. I don't think, you know, a 10-year-old is not going to like this. I don't think a 12-year-old would even like Mantra. I mean, obviously, a 12-year-old heterosexual boy would like Mantra. You know what I'm saying? The story, though, would just kind of be like, I don't know. But for me as an adult, like 14 years old or up, this was good. This was going somewhere, and it just kind of fell flat with 4 and 5. But I'm hoping they pick it back up, because Mike Barr writes a good story. I like Terry Dotson's art. I'm hoping that this art here, this inferior art, if you will, is no longer required in subsequent issues. And we're going to find out in the future. Tomorrow, we're going to talk about a movie that Malibu Comics made. I know it sounds crazy, but you're going to have to stick around to find out what movie this company actually made and delivered direct to video. Back in the 1990s, no less. So all you beautiful people in Webtown, thank you for watching Crypto Comics, and I look forward to continuing the journey with you tomorrow.